Alright, ready up guys. We're on. Okay, welcome ladies and gentlemen to the first round of the Oceania Racing League Div 2. It's going to be a sprint weekend in Melbourne here, and it'll be a good one. Drivers all loading their setups for this short qualifying session, 20 minutes around Albert Park. Who can put in the fastest time and set themselves up on pole position for this 10 lap sprint race we have before 29 laps around the Albert Park Grand Prix circuit. And there we go, the 18 minutes has started. Just gonna look at a couple of things now. Put the map on. Alright. Now, it's just a matter of time. Everyone's just got to load their setups, and we'll see who is the first person out on track today. It's a clear sunny day out at Albert Park, and someone's out. That's a McLaren. I think it might be Iron Rhino, but there's also a Williams out. Lindsay Games is the first out on track here. Actually goes a bit wide into turn one. Those Stone Cold tyres could be causing a bit of annoyance in the Williams. We've got basically all the drivers coming out now. On track now we have Lindsay. Nukosi is now coming out. Gordo, Dr. Amy died. Iron Rhino, Geordie, Chicken Joe, the Boy Luke, Mubatron, Skits, and Lindsay. So 11 out of the 13 drivers are now on track. And out of those 11 drivers, right up the front of all of them, furthest out, is Lindsay Games. Who's going to be the first one to cross the line, probably, to start a flying lap. Getting some temp into those tyres there, as Lindsay now is going to look to speed up on the exit, turn 15, and round the tricky corner of turn 16. You don't want to get too wobbly on the exit. It's a decent corner. Now Lindsay's going to go down the back straight. All that DRS is open. Here she comes into turn 1, using all of the track there. I want to get more DRS there. Into turn 3 they go. Decent, really good first sector here. If they go wide actually, and round turn 4, Lindsay runs wide, and that's DSQ'd their lap time, so that'll be a lap time deleted for Lindsay, who's gonna have to slow down, because behind them is their teammate in the Williams, I'm a Nubatron, who's now coming through this middle part, this reprofiled bit of the circuit. There was a chicane in here, but now it's just a long high-speed straight as they get to the really high-speed chicane now, and they go wide after saying purple sector 2, and luckily that's not a lap time deleted for them. And they've just got 3 corners to go. How well can they navigate it? Lindsay just stepped out the way to let them pass. Goes almost wide, but using all the track here. And I'm Nubatron's going to be the first one to come round and take the first lap of this qualifying session and of the division for this this week, and it's not a bad first lap, 1:19.6. So I think the lap times might improve by a bit, but it's a really decent first lap from Movertron. Second across the line now is going to be Dr. Amy died. So that's their first lap, so they're just a couple of seconds off. And there's a little gaggle of about 5 cars here, 2 Alpines and a couple more. Just all in some traffic and qualifying. Wonder how that'll affect them. As we say that now, Nuke OC set his fastest lap. Goes faster by about 1/10.5 there. And as I said, that Ice Iron Rhino improves by another 3.5 cents. Goes way up on those times. That's a really nice lap in the McLaren. So I'm going to look to see who's going to come across the line next. It looks like it's going to be Bean OC. He's going to, I think, probably start a flying lap. Oh no, that was a lap, and it's a really good lap. Just a tad down on the McLaren in front. And I think Lindsay's going to set their first lap now. Across the line, they're going to 1:18.7. So it's really about a second faster than that original lap time from their teammate, I'm a Noobtron. And Lindsay's put in P1 by 4/10. Really large that gap there. And DRA Geordie, he's gone 4/10 quicker than that. I didn't know if anyone could best that, but he's just shown that there could still be lots more to come in this track yet. Has to move out the way of a couple of drivers there on their flying laps. As now most people are actually boxing to go back into the pits after their first laps. I think the only ones that haven't set up is Harolinho, who's just spun out of that high-speed turn 9-10 chicane, I believe. Maybe just on the exit. Bit too many revs, bit too many Weet-Bix, and they've just gone off there. So I haven't quite set the lap yet, and I think they'll probably have to go back into the pits and box for new tyres, maybe, we'll see. So I think most people will be coming into the pits now. Actually, looks like, yeah, it does look like everyone's coming to the pits. Just look to see what's happening. The only one staying out now is ISO Skits in this Mercedes. And behind them, I think that will be Chicken Joe. So it might be another lap time just deleted for them. 2 in a row, I believe. So maybe just went a bit wide into turn 2 there or something. A bit unfortunate. I'm going to look towards Chicken Joe's lap time. Might be an in lap. Look to be a bit slowing down, but we'll see. Yeah, so it does look like they're going to slow down there and almost collides with Gordo behind them. I think Gordo is also trying to get out of the way. They've almost collided. And Gordo hadn't set a lap time, but now they're on the exit of that out lap here, getting onto this first flying lap. What can they do? I'm going to go down the main straight here. DRS wide open. In a break around 75 meters in turn 1. Oh, he's cut that chicane a bit, and that's a DSQ for them. Just cut, or went a bit wide into turn 2 and had to cut it, which resulted in a disqualified lap time for them. So they'll have to go for another lap. A bit unfortunate there. And so currently, no one's on a flying lap except maybe Ice Iron Rhino. just goes through turn 1, 2. It's been proven to be a bit tricky for previous drivers just around here. Lots of people have been getting their lap times disqualified or getting penalties, as we saw in that Div 1 race. Hopefully that amount of chaos doesn't happen this time in this Div 2 race. It's a purple sector for Ice Iron Rhino. Almost 4/10 up on Geordie's time there. As I see a yellow flag, and Iman Nubron has just retired from the qualifying session. I'm going to try and see what's happened there. But maybe on the... As Beanos here disqualified last time, maybe on the exit of 5. Yeah, it just looked like they spun on the exit. As Chicken Joe almost spins on the exit of 2. So a couple of drivers. One's now DNF'd. Ivan Udron, who has set that first lap time and couldn't set any more. So we'll see how that holds up. But right now, Ice Iron Rhino is going to come around and they're going to set the fastest lap time by a 10th and a bit. It's a really good lap. They were looking super strong here. And Beanos, he's slowing down, maybe just to let someone through, or may have spun. But also, Chicken Joe has also got a 5-second grid penalty for a collision with someone else in that middle sector. I think we saw them getting a bit squirrely on the exit. And then they're going to start 5 places down from where they otherwise would for the sprint race. But the good thing about a sprint race is, if you have a bit of a poor qualifying session, you can it's a chance to catch up for that race. So they'll have 10 laps to make up as many places as they can. I don't know if anyone's on a lap now. It's just a couple of cars here getting out of the way of Skits. I think Skits is on a flying lap now. Might be one of the only ones. There's about 4 or 5. But we're going to stick on board with Skits now. Going to go for an onboard lap with Skits. Previous lap, I think they got a 120.2. So if they want pole, they'll have to improve by 2 seconds. Let's see what they can do here. Almost got no ERS, as I think the previous couple of lap times were DSQ'd. So it's going to be the rest of this lap with pretty much no ERS. Coming down this pretty big DRS long back straight into the reprofiled corner. It's a tighter angle. Can they nail it? It's a really good corner there. And I think someone spun in turn 1. Looks to be one of the Williams. See who that is later. I think they're surviving that and they'll keep going. And Skits goes a bit wide around turn 16. But they're going to come home and then it's going to set their first lap of the Grand Prix. It's a 120.1. So not enough to improve any places. Let me just check who that was that spun before. I think it might have been Lindsay. Yeah, it was Lindsay who spun. Actually, it doesn't look like there's any damage to the car, miraculously. Don't know how that's happened. Let's just see who's on a lap now. Boy, Luke's just got their lap disqualified. I don't know if Skits is on one. We'll just look at Skits. They might be going for 2 in a row, but I think they might be going into the pits because of the fact they have no DRS. We're going to spectate Jules Daniel, who actually won the practice race in Austria a week ago. So coming off a really strong performance there. Can they do anything, or can they replicate that weekend they had last week? Can they replicate that this weekend in Australia? And they're going to come into the pits now, but for pole, looks like it might be a 4-way battle between Lindsay, Jules Daniel, DRA, Geordie, and Ice Iron Rhino. I know Lindsay, Jules Daniel, and Ice Iron Rhino were really fast and competing, fierce competition between them for pole last week. Hopefully we get a similar fight for this week. We're gonna go for a lap on board with Bean OC in this Haas car. Only Haas in this race. Other teammates couldn't make it to the race. Hopefully we'll get more next couple of weeks. It's early days for this league, and we should get more people joining. And it's a purple sector 2 for Bean OCE. Just coming through that high speed chicane now. Down straight with DRS. Around the reprofiled corner, making the most of the track there. And they've just got 3 more corners to go now. How will they navigate it? 2 to go. And it's the last corner. And Bean OCE is going to come across the line. Can they improve on the lap time? They do. They go 0.3 faster almost. And they're into the 1:18s. The 5th person in this lobby to do so. And I think Chicken Joe's just left the session. Don't know what's happening there. I think everyone except Dr. Amy's going to be on an in-lap or out-lap or in the pit altogether. As they go wide out of the turn 10 and it's a spin. Really lucky that the car stopped and actually spun round more, because otherwise they were heading straight for that barrier, as we saw Haroldinho do earlier in the session. And there's under 3 minutes to go now, so I think all the drivers will be either boxing or coming out for their final couple of laps. I think Dr. Amy will probably have to box. They're on 3-lap old tyres. No, oh yeah, they're gonna box here. Thought they stayed up for a second. Out on track now, Haroldinho, who, as I mentioned, had spun before in this turn 9-10 chicane. How will they navigate it this time? Go through in this lovely corner there. They're going to cross the line now. What time will it be for Haroldinho? It's going to be a 1:19.8, so they improve a 1/10.5 on their lap time, and that's enough to bump them up into P9. Just gaining place under Boy Luke, who's on a flying lap now. Just behind the provisional pole sitter, Ice Iron Rhino, who's just at a purple sector 1, going real strong here. Here goes the 2 McLarens speeding down this middle sector, really high speed corners, and he's 600ths up on their previous time. They go wide. Somehow that's not a lap time deleted, and very lucky not to spin or have their lap time deleted. That really high speed chicane looks to be catching a few drivers out this weekend. They're going to be catching up to, I think, DRA Geordie. But they're going to come around. I don't know how much time this is, but I think they'll have one more lap after this if they can. And they go about a 1/10 faster than their previous lap. It's a really, really nice lap. And Boy Luke also puts in a nice lap to bump themselves up 4 places into P6. And we've got 18 seconds now. Who will make this line and who won't? We wonder. There might be a spin, actually. It is a spin. And it's a crash. For DRA Geordie. Drivers having to avoid him. And that's actually ruined Gordo's lap, having to avoid them. Really unfortunate stuff. And Jules Daniels might have collided with them. What's happened to Jules Daniel? We look to see. And I think that's ruined Gordo's lap. Really unfortunate. And, I think the DRA Geordie might have done a similar thing to Sebastian Vettel. Yeah, really unfortunate. just drops it on their turn 4 exit. Gordo's gonna be overtaken by Skits here. Nice move from Skits in qualifying. I think Gordo was not on a good lap as Skits maybe locks off or something, but they go straight on. And that's also ruined their lap. So a couple of ruined lap times. Nevertheless, we're going to look to see who's going to come across the line now. It's going to be Ice Iron Rhino on provisional pole. DeBoyle's going to pull over, abandon the lap. But behind them now is a Williams of Lindsay, I believe. Yeah, Lindsay can't improve in the lap time, so that's P4 for them. And there's only 2 more people out on track. And Skits has spun again on turn 14. Might have spun just before. Oh yeah, they went wide that previous corner. So they're gonna have to nurse the car home. Into the pits they go. And that is the qualifying session. So it's been a really strong performance from Ice Iron Rhino in that McLaren. And that's pole position for them with a 1:18.3. There might be a glitch here where it's not gonna might not finish off the qualifying for a couple of seconds. And there we go. As you see now, on board with Lindsay Games, and they've gotten P4. Good job there. Gonna look down the grid, and it's gonna be an Australian on pole position for their home Grand Prix. Good stuff there. Chicken Joe got a 5-second grid place for a collision. But out of these drivers, I think about half are Australian, so they'll all be looking to do well at their home Grand Prix. Just going to look through some incidents. Just a lot of warnings and invalidating lap times. I'm going to for the penalty, but don't go anywhere, as in a couple of moments we've got we're gonna have the sprint race. Here we go. All the drivers are loading their setups for 10 laps, for a 10-lap sprint race around Albert Park. And this, I believe it's 8 points for P1, and 1 point, and down to 1 point for P8. You're gonna see. I think most people will be starting on the mediums, and it's 5 red lights for the sprint race. There's a pause, and it's lights out and away we go. We'll see who gets a good start now. Ice Iron Rhino is going to be alongside with Doherty, who's already passed them before turn 1. And they're battling around the outside, and actually forces Geordie wide, and Ice Iron Rhino is going to go down the inside of turn 2. Battling now down to turn 3. On the outside is Ice Iron Rhino. What can they do? Great driving, they're going to go side by side, and gets a bit wobbly on the exit, so there'll be a bit of a bad exit, and that's allowed Geordie to get ahead. And now 3-second time penalty for Iman Neutron as Ice Iron Rhino almost spins again. And yellow flags as Jules Daniels spun at the back there. See if he's got damage. Looks like the car is unharmed, so that's a bit unfortunate for them. As we join back in the action up the front, Ice Iron Rhino is going to be on the outside, but Geordie squeezing them out, and Ice Iron Rhino is pushing them through that high-speed chicane. So they go down now the straight, Joy's just squeezing him out. This is good defensive driving from them. Can they keep this up though? As they've got there's only 2 more laps that Ice Iron Ryan's got to stick with them before DRS is active. Jules Daniel spins again. And that's full front wing damage for them, so they'll have to box. Unfortunate sprint race, but hopefully they can recover it in the main race. As Ice Iron Ryan's going to go on the inside line, down the inside into turn 1, and they've been clipped. Been clipped from Geordie, who's now going to be vulnerable to Bean OCE behind in that Haas car. Bean going to send it, and Geordie almost leaves him room. This is really good racing here. Round turn 4, they both go a bit wide. And Bean goes a bit wide and should maybe get a penalty. Jules Daniel retires in the pits, doesn't see any point in continuing. And Bean OC and I'm a Noobtron both have couple of time penalties. I'm just going to look at the tyres now. So I'm a Noobtron's the only one to start on softs. Can they make those softs last for the entire race? Darrow Geordie running wide there. Don't believe any of them should be having a go now. And ISO Skids might be catching up on Gordo. Down the main straight. They're going to go now. Doesn't look like you can. There's a lot of drivers are now getting time penalties for exceeding track limits. Skids is catching up now on Gordo. Sticking around that 4/10 mark. But, what can the aid of DRS do for them? Which is they're really close, 2/10. Just can't miss this. Gordo goes a bit wide there. Skids is on the inside out line with DRS. Using all the overtake, they've got barely any ERS left. And they go down the inside, and it's a good move to bump them up a place, as we see now in front. Bean OC sticking ahead of that McLaren. Gonna look to see who's fighting, and that might be a Williams. Got a bit wide there, and there's a couple of battles now in the background. I think that's Lindsay Games who spun, maybe putting the wall by someone. But on the exit of turn 16, that final corner, they've been in the wall, and their streak of bad luck's continued. It's very unfortunate for them. I think we're probably gonna spectate on board the boy Luke. Just 1 second now. Oh no. Alright, back to the action now. Beanoshi just ran a bit wide there, and Geordie spun out of that high speed chicane. Might have pulled the Carlos signs. But now they're losing a couple places, and Nuki OCE might be going for an overtake. They go wide. And can you get them? And it looks like the top 7. Oh no. On the P3 till 7 are quite close together, actually. Almost the entire field up to P9 is quite close. I'm just going to look down, run through the grid order. So the grid order: Bean OCE P1, DuBois Luke P2 in the McLaren, P3 the Alpha Romeo of DRA Geordie, P4 Nuke OCE, P5 ISO Skits, who's I think filling in the people as there's a spin for Haroldinho is in the wall on the exit of 3. Might have gotten a bit too much power down. Can Lindsay overtake them? I wonder. But I think we're going to join back up. Yeah, as I was saying, Skits P5, Gordo P6. Lindsay overtakes Haroldinho. P7, Ice Iron Rhino got tapped by Geordie earlier in this race. And P8, Dr. X Amy. P9, Lindsay. P10, Haroldinho. P11, Chicken Joe. And P12's I'm a Nubitron. P13, Dulce Daniel. Both of them have retired. So hopefully they'll try and make a comeback in the actual race. After this, we've got 29 laps. This time, Boy Luke's a lot closer around, and they've been gaining on Bean OCE. Boy Luke's catching with DRS isn't quite enough to get through before that DRS zone. Gonna look behind for this little pack of cars. Looks like it's another spin. Dr. X Amy died. They've spun again. No wonder what's happened. It's a safety car. Maybe on exit of 2. They've got on the curb. And that's caused them, essentially, it just spins the car around. And, yeah, it's unfortunate to say the least. And that's full on safety car. So, I wonder how this will affect the race. Who will pit and who will stay out? I think what will happen is Haroldinho will probably pit, and that'll allow them to catch up and bunch up this field. So it's going to be maybe 2 or 3 laps of racing for the end of this sprint race. And this is going to be bunched up field, but penalties could make it interesting. Right now we've got Bean OCE up front with 6 seconds of penalties, the most out of anyone in this field. That would probably make a difference, as it will probably be a close finish. And also, the Boy Luke has 3 seconds of penalties, Ice Iron Rhino has 3 seconds, and also ISO Skits is coming into the pits for a front wing change. Actually, Haroldinho's coming to the pits as well. Going very slow into those pits. Let's see what kind of a job Alfa Romeo pit crew can do. You're going to take the tyres off, take the front wing off, put the new front wing on, and go is the message down to Alfa Romeo. Haroldinho goes out of the pit box, and they're going to have to speed round Albert Park to try and catch up to the cars in front. So as it stands, Bean OCE P1 with 6 seconds of time penalties. That could make it interesting. Boy Luke also has a time penalty of 3 seconds, so that will be interesting. Geordie in P3 in that Alpha. Nuke OCE in the Red Bull in P4. Gordo P5. The McLaren of Ice Iron Rhino, who was leading this race until they got tapped by Geordie. So it's been a bit unfortunate, but they've also got 3 seconds of time penalties. Behind them, Lindsay Games. He's a really unfortunate streak of luck. Couple of incidents in these past couple of races. Behind them, Skits, the Mercedes, and Chicken Joe, who actually left the session. This is their AI driving. Nuke OC's got a 5-second time penalty for a severe collision with Geordie. So I think before, I did see that Nuke OC has a full front wing damage. So I think maybe Geordie might have slowed down a bunch or something, and yeah, just brake checked Nuke or something. So it's quite unfortunate. But last driver to catch up to the pack is Haroldinho in the Alfa Romeo. Had a spin earlier on in the race, and also had front wing damage from it. So this is just about the best thing that could have happened to them for this sprint race. Giving them a chance to make up a couple of positions before this real race, and potentially keeping them in the standings for maybe top 5 finish, depending on how good they do in this and the actual race. And now Haradinho's caught up to the field, so this entire field's bunched up, and I think they've got the debris cleared, so this will probably be safety car in this lap. We're going to see what the FIA decide, but if it is, it's going to be 2 laps of racing to decide who will start from P1 for the race. And yet, safety car is in this lap. We're going to do a recap of the penalties. P6, Bean, 6 seconds of penalties for Bean, 3 seconds of penalties for the boy Luke, 5 seconds of penalties for Nuke OCE, 3 seconds for Ice Iron Rhino, and Haradinho has just overtaken the ghost of Chicken Joe, so maybe something happening there. But we're going to look to the front of the pack and see how good Bean OCE is at restarting. So whenever Bean accelerates, the pack will accelerate. There's no overtaking until Bean accelerates. I'm just going to wait. And they're going now. Bean gets a decent exit, but Du Bois Luke looks to have a better exit, and Du Bois Luke's going side by side with the inside line. And they're going to actually just not go for that. There's a couple more overtakes happening, and Ice Iron Rhino's going side by side with Gordo. Almost been there. And Gordo's just kept in front, but into turn 3. They can't make a move. A bit unfortunate there. But DRA Geordie is right on the back of this McLaren in front of them. Goes a bit wide, and that's 3 second penalty for Geordie, so all the top 4 have penalties now. That'll make it interesting. Geordie practically pushing him through turn 5 and 6. Or turn 5. Down this reprofiled long middle section of the track, round the outside, Geordie going. He made contact with the McLaren's teammate, and he gets through cleanly this time. That's a good pass from Geordie. He puts himself into P2. Yukosi gets another 3 seconds of penalties, and Iron Rhino's just got past Gordo. So Iron Rhino is now just 1 second behind their teammate, and we're coming onto the final lap of the race now, as Nuke's being passed by many people as he has no front wing. So this is a bit unfortunate. We're going to see if Lindsay can get past them. When she does, they won't run a bit wide. And ISO Skids is just behind the half of Bean OCE, who's lost out on 3 positions, and will Skids make that 4? He's going to go on the long run down to turn 3. And bumps Bean there. See what's happening? They're going round the outside, and he spins out, but Bean also saves them. So Skids maybe got pushed wide by Bean, and they spun into Bean, and Bean's stopped them spinning around fully. We're going to look up the front. Ice Iron Rhino has gotten to P2, and he's battling his teammate for the lead of the sprint race. He's going to stay behind into the chicane, and it's just the last sector to go now. I don't know if it'll make a difference, as they've both got 3 seconds time penalties. But who will get the bragging rights of on-track position without those penalties? The McLaren's battling out into the spin. I think that would have been Lindsay. A bit unfortunate there. Ice Iron Rhino, can they get the overtake done? They're racing to the line, side by side. Who's going to get the win? It's none of them, because Gordo doesn't have a penalty. Gordo's going to pick up P1 here for the sprint race and start from P1 for 29 laps. Lindsay comes on P9, and I think Nuke will be, or maybe Lindsay will be up to that one. What a crazy race, and driver of the day, well deserved. It's Gordo. So just gonna just note down who this this order for the race, because it will be handy. The top 8 will get points here in this championship. Okay. I think it'll be 12, 13, 14, around that number of drivers are going to line up for this Australian Grand Prix. There's going to be no formation lap, and there's been a couple of glitches from it before. Everyone's going to be loading their setups now. Here we go for the race. 1 light, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights in Australia. And it's lights out and away we go. Gordo looks to get not the best start, and Skits is already in front. They've been overtaken by Du Bois Luke and Ice Iron Rhino and Geordie. And spun round Du Bois Luke by Skids. They go side by side, and almost an identical incident between Geordie and Ice Iron Rhino happened in that sprint before. But Geordie's catching up, and that's a spin for Skids, and they come back on the track, and then they've got some damage there. Boney Lingard's got many penalties, and they're spinning around. Chaos happening on the opening lap here. Don't know where to look, but I think the best place to look now is the battle for the lead. DRA Geordie started in P3, and it's a miracle start for them. They're up to P1, but not without some competition, as their nemesis from the sprint race, Ice Iron Rhino's caught up, looking to get a bit of revenge on them maybe. Around the first lap they go, and that's Gordo off and into the barriers. Gordo's out of this race, and that could be a safety car. What's going to happen? That's a nasty incident, and Ice Iron Rhino's also off. There's two people off in the same corner, and it's a safety car. Really bad luck for Ice Iron Rhino and Gordy. They're both gone. Chaos on the opening lap. Maybe 4, 5, 6 collisions, many spins, and we're going to have a cool down because we're going to have a safety car. So Geordie's going to pit now. Has a bit of ring damage there. Left end plate gone. I didn't actually see what happened between those front two, but maybe we'll get a replay sometime. I believe there might have been a collision between them actually, because Geordie has front wing damage. So I wonder if there was a collision. If so, that could be a dispute happening and penalties. So it looks like a couple of people have spun or have wing damage, and I think most of them will be going onto the hard tyre. Look, we're going to look at the position change for a bit. So the big winners out of this start are Dawes Daniel, Bean OCE, Haroldinho, and Gordo's got the worst start possible, and they've DNF'd, and Rhino is also DNF'd, both at pretty much the same corner, and those crashes look pretty nasty. They speed off into the barriers very, very high speed. I hope they'll be okay. They probably will be. Boney Lingard gets another penalty. They're the only driver in this race so far to have a penalty, and it might be a couple. It's 6 seconds of penalties at the moment. So, apart from those bottom 4 that are still running, everyone is on the mediums. I believe it'll be 1 or 2 stop around here. Don't know which one yet, but we'll find out. There might be one more lap of safety car. Yeah, Skits is coming to the pits now. Don't know why they did not do that one before, but they're boxing now. Along with, I think Duels Daniel or Nuke OCE. So they're both going on to soft tyres actually. Bit of an odd choice, going for a 2-stop. So there's a couple of gambles happening here. And a bunch of people who've spun and got penalties on this opening lap have gone on hard tyres. So this will make for quite the interesting safety car restart. Yeah, the pack is almost bunched up. Just these last 2 who haven't boxed, Nuke OCE and Skits, back out on fresh tyres, and they've got fresh front wings. And now the pack is bunched up. So this should be the last lap of safety car, and then we're going to hopefully get underway. It is. So, a couple of laps under the safety car there. Safety car's in this lap. So Bean up the front's going to have to maintain speed. And I believe Bean was leading in that sprint race when we had a safety car. And didn't get the best safety car restart. So they'll be hoping for a better one in the race here. Wonder what's going to happen. So the field's just waiting for Bean to go to the front runner and the pace setter, the restart. They're going to wait, let them catch up, and they're going now. Decent safety car restart. What can Haroldinho go? We're going to look further down. DeBoy Luke just got past Jingjo, who's AFK. But further down there's a lot of overtakes. I think that's on a couple of people coming in. Lindsay and Amy, we might have had a collision on the safety car there. There's a yellow flag out. There's a spin. DeBoy Luke and the McLaren has spun, and there's another collision, I think. As Red Bull of Nuke OCE goes down the inside of the Merc, he's been tagged. Nuke OCE's got a 3-second time penalty as well, just for good measure. So just try maybe cut off the Merc. I think that was probably Nuke OCE's fault. Anyway, we're going to look to their teammate now, Duels Daniel, who's really gaining on Haroldinho's. Boney Lingard gets past Chicken Joe. They're going down the straight. DRS won't be active yet, but they don't need DRS. They're staunched past the Alfa Romeos. There's another spin. It's Boney Lingard, who's going to be overtaken by quite a few people, and I wonder if DeBoy Luke can catch up to him. There's quite a few things happening now. Actually, I think DeBoy Luke... I'm going to check for damage on them, but that was quite the nasty crash from them. They're going to box, actually. So a bit of a bad crash. Oh, that's a huge crash for Dioro Geordie. Luckily, he still keeps the engine running, and somehow that car's wheels stay on it. Huge crash, and he's gonna have to pit. That's full front wing damage. Dr. Amy's got 3-second time penalty. Lots of things happening here. So there'll be debris on the inside of turn 2. It's another spin. Maybe it's Geordie. He clonks the barrier for a second time on the exit of turn 4, I think. doing a similar thing to what they did in the sprint race. So many collisions. I think Bean might be the only one who's actually kept himself out of any incidents this weekend. And I think us Iron Rhino saying Geordie took him out, which is what we did suspect. So probably a dispute coming for that. Yellow flags now. I think it might be Lindsay. Yeah, it is. On the exit of that high-speed chicane's just spun. Lindsay's left. They've given up. And this has just been some of the worst luck I've seen in ages. Lindsay's had a streak now of many DNF spins, crashes in these past couple of races. That's another spin. It's DRA Geordie. And Geordie's out of the session. Must have been a fair clonk with the barriers. That's a safety car. And they were in a very dangerous location there. Yeah, Geordie getting a bit of blame here. Maybe crashing a couple of people out. And Bean might be coming to the pits here. Bean's boxing. And also, Dulce Daniel behind's boxing. Bean's got a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. People getting a bit caught out by no pit assist, I think. Another person who's been caught out is Nuke OCE. They've been given a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. Very, very big impact there, and I think most of the grid's gonna box. Boney Lingard's been given a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. I'm just gonna check the tyres. Oh no, I'll check the penalties first. And then I'm going to check the position change. So I'm a Nubitron. I don't think they've... Oh no, they have pitted in that first safety car. And I think, apart from an incident at the start, they've stayed out of trouble. Apart from a couple of penalties. And they're now leading the race. We're just got to wait for the rest of the field to bunch up now. I think Nuke OC might be a bit unlucky with that drive-through. Yeah, so it's not been the best race for many people here, but it's definitely been a really exciting Australian Grand Prix for everyone else to watch, because we've got 2 safety cars in 8 laps of a race. In a 10-lap sprint race we also had a safety car, and we had 3 DNFs, and 2 of those DNFs were Ice Iron and DRA Geordie, who looked to have some real pace. 2 of the front runners. And I think the other person who had a lot of pace was Dulce Daniel, who won the practice race in Austria. by quite some margin, and it was a really good drive from them. But can they replicate a drive like that here in Australia? I think the pack is bunched up now. Should have a safety car in this lap. And the safety car is in this lap. The safety car is going to go off the field. We'll have to slow down. And that's a bunch of people falling down. Ito Skids got a 5-second penalty for a collision with DeBoy Luke. I think that's a bit unfortunate. I think what happened was Dr. Amy's spun or something, and a bunch of people have had to brake, and Skids maybe has accidentally brake checked DeBoy Luke. So if anyone has a penalty they want to dispute, you can dispute that in the channel, and we'll try to get that removed from your time as best we can. We see Boney Lingard or Skids or someone doing a bit of lawn mowing there in the background. There's just chaos on the safety car restart. And Iman Neutron up front has maintained that lead behind. And there's just 4 or 5 people right next to each other. But we're going to look up front, I think. And OC goes wide. And it's going to open up quite a fair gap. It's just chaos has been the theme of this weekend so far, and it continues here on the safety car restart. Boney Lingard just goes wide. And I'm going to look to Jules Daniel, who's one of the only drivers here without a penalty. The yellow flag is DeBoy Luke spun or something in that first couple of corners. Jules Daniels are on the back of Bean OCE, looking for an overtake, can't get it. And can Nuke OCE slow them down? I believe Nuke OCE will have to serve a drive-through this lap or they get disqualified. They had a bit of an annoying drive-through, and that's incident further back. I wonder what's happened there. But it's going to be potentially a 3-way battle depending what Nuke OCE does. I think they might have to pit for that drive-through. Yeah, they are going to have to do that. Really unfortunate. I think we'll probably remove 20 seconds from the time for that. It's a bit unlucky. If they dispute it, we'll probably remove some time for that. Anyway, we're going to look at Jules Daniel. DRS should be active. Actually, no, one more lap. But will Jules Daniel need DRS? So one of the only drivers in who's closed up enough to make an overtake. Haldino gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. I'm going to look for the penalties now. Dr. X Amy's got 16 seconds of them. Lingard's got 12. And I think DeBoy Luke's had a crash, and they're out of the session. But we're going to keep watching this fight up front as Jules Daniel's gone down the inside of Bean OCE. And they've made it stick into that heaven. It's another safety car. Wow, 3 safety cars in 10 laps. I think we've had more laps on the safety car than actual racing ones. So, really poor result for both McLarens. And I think Zach Brain and Andreas Seidel will be shaking their heads. And I think both of them actually DNF'd. Oh no, they both caused safety cars. So that's unfortunate. And it's going to be many more, a couple more laps under the safety car now. As we're nearing the halfway point on the race. Everyone's going to have to slow down a lot here. Wonder if that will cause any incidents. Lingard's getting, and a bunch of other people are getting away with a pit stop. Alright. I think we probably go for another lap under the safety car to let this field bunch up. There's about 5 cars, 5, 6, that still need to catch up. And I think probably the driver in the best position at the moment is Jules Daniel, who's in P2, but one of 3 drivers still running who hasn't got a penalty. So that gives them a huge advantage over I'm a Nubatron, who's in P1. So it'll be very, very interesting safety car restarts. And I think a couple of previous times on the start and restarts, there have been some people been put into the wall in turn 1 to chicane. So Daniel will be praying that if he goes for an overtake of I'm a Nubatron in turn 1, that he doesn't get put in the wall. Someone might have brake checked some people there. It's a bunch of people have to slow down. I think that should be safety car in this lap, and it is. And I think this will be I'm a Noobtron's second safety car restart as the chaos at the back. A bunch of the AIs just brake checked their field, so that's a bit weird. But I'm gonna look to see what tyres people are on. So there might have been a spin there. Yeah, I think Skits has done something, or maybe they get through now. But everyone is on hard tyres except for Lingard, and I wonder if everyone's going to try and go through to the end on those tyres. That will be interesting. And here we go, safety car restart. I think Jules Daniel got the better of that restart compared to the Williams. Probably not close enough to go side by side. Skids gets a 5-second time penalty as they come into the pits. And Jules Daniel's closing that gap up. Gonna ride on board with him now. Down that straight. Not using any DRS. Opting to probably save it for later. Here you go now. Through turn 4 and 5, OC gets a 3-second time penalty. Through turns 6 and 7. I think they are going down to the high speed chicane. Turn 8 and 9, I believe. And I'm a Noob goes wide, and that's going to allow Jules Daniel to get past on the inside line for the lead of the race. It's on 5-lap pressure tyres. But what really gave him that opportunity was Nubatron going wide. And it might be a couple of people actually battling for the lead, as almost go wide again. On to lap 14 of this race. The halfway point, basically. And Bean pulls out to the side, thinks about a move, but then gets a second thought. 6 behind. Maybe looking for a move down into turn 3. And see if they can. Yeah, they're a bit too far back to go for an overtake here. And Nuke OCE's gone wide on the exit of turn 3. So that's going to allow a couple of people to get past them. It's a bit unfortunate. But the attention right now is focused on the couple of guys up front. Being OC in P3 is currently chasing down I'm a Nubitron who's in P2. Doesn't look like they've made a dent in that gap at all. Stayed about even for the duration of this lap as they lose about a 10 through the corner. Can they make it up? They're gonna go lose a bit of time on the exit, I think. Nubitron's probably gonna stick ahead, and I think it'll be DRS enabled this lap. So Bean's stuck in that DRS, in that 1 second where you can have DRS, which could be crucial if they want to catch up. They haven't got it there, which is a bit weird. Actually, I think that's because there's one detection point for those two. To go wide and get a 3-second time penalty out of turn 4 can be a tricky corner if you don't brake it enough. Can Bean stay in that 1 second? They've got about a 10th to play with to stay in before they're outside. They've gained a couple of tenths down the straight, and they've got DRS for this next straight. How much will they catch up? And with DRS open, Bean's chasing down the Williams in front. Gains about a 10th there, so pretty good. Goes wide and gains more time, so it might be a warning. They've lost a couple of tenths in those final couple of quarters. That might be a spin or something. Someone behind, I don't know. But now Bean's going to get a couple of straights now with DRS. How much is that going to help them? And they've gained 2 tenths in the first one. And we're getting a couple more in the second one. Nuke OCE's out of the session. I think they retired in the pits. So that's not good for Red Bull. But on the other hand, their teammate Jules Daniels open up quite the gap because of this battle behind them. Now Bean OC is a lot closer this time around on the circuit, and they seem to catch up at a rate of knots down the straight. They're not using any ERS and catching up a lot. Is it enough though? It's getting a 3-second time penalty for cutting the corner. They go wide, bend the track limits a bit, but they're going to go down the inside of Armin Nubitron into the reprofiled corner. They go a bit wide, could allow Nubitron to get past, doesn't let him. Looks like Bean OC has made the move stick for now. And I don't know if Noob will be in that 1 second of DRS. Gonna have to look as they go down this straight. They do get DRS, they'll get a couple of straights worth of DRS. And there's a yellow flag in sector 2. It's ISO Skids, he's got full front wing damage now. I wonder if they're going to come into the pits, because they'll probably lose a lot of time if they carry on it like this. Yeah, they are going to pit now. And we'll run through the grid order and check to see what tyres people are on, as I think Skids is actually, they've retired from the session in the pits. Pit crew might not have seen a point to going on. I'm going to look to see the penalties. So currently P1 is Jules Daniel on the Red Bull, who's having a really strong performance with no penalties. Bean OCE is in P2. with 14 seconds of penalties, the second most out of anyone. Nubitron's in P3 with 3 seconds of penalties. Ronaldinho in the Alfa Romeo is in P4 and has 3 seconds of penalties. Dr. X Amy's got 11 seconds of penalties in P5. The Merc, the Boney Lingard's got 18 seconds for penalties, the most out of anyone. And they've almost spun. Lost a bunch of time out of that one. The AI of Lindsay behind doesn't have any penalties. The same for the AI of Chicken Joe. But I think the closest battle that's going to be happening right now is Haroldinho, who's currently on the back of Nubitron. And we'll see if they can close up the gap. As we've got just about 10 laps to go now. So, what drama will unfold in the next and last 10 laps of the race? It's been a really entertaining weekend so far. Quite a few incidents, spins and crashes. So, good luck to whoever's editing the highlights video for this one, which will probably be me. That's a bit unfortunate. But anyway, it'll be very entertaining highlights video. I think Nubitron's actually been closing up to being OCE to the point where now they're within DRS distance. But since they were behind when the detection zone was, they won't have it for these couple of straights. They're going to have to stick with Bean until they get to that detection zone in the middle sector. Yeah, and they've gained a couple of tenths now. So, it looks like the battle's going to continue. They cut at the corner a bit, and they're going to get DRS down the straight. How much can they catch up onto the Bean? Catches up about a tenth, loses it through the corner, and gains back on the exit. So they're just 5 tenths behind, and they're going to get DRS for the next 2 straights. How will that affect them? It's been I think ran a bit wide there, and that's going to give them a really bad exit for the next couple of corners. And as a result, the main straight. How much will Noob catch up? Almost. It's close enough to make a move. Don't know if they'll be able to do it down this straight. But if they can keep the pace up, they should be able to get them of that middle sector straight. Oceania gets another penalty for exceeding track limits. And it goes wide. It's a spin for them. And it's actually a retirement for them. Oceania was looking strong. They were leading this race at one point. They're out. So that is very unfortunate. I want to see if looks like they just went straight on or something. So, out of the 14 drivers that started this weekend, there's currently only 5 that are still actually driving. Lindsay and Chicken have left, but the AI is driving. And out of those 5 remaining drivers, Jules Daniel's the only one not to have a penalty. So it's been very impressive performance from them. They've opened up a huge gap, 9 seconds, and unless a spin or crash, it's looking pretty good for the Red Bull, as they've just got another 8 laps to go around Albert Park. Just 40 kilometers to go around the streets of Melbourne. And it's a very nice venue to host an F1 race. It's got a lot of history around the sport. It's a beautiful track. It's 5.3 kilometers. Alright, we start this 20-second lap. We're going to look for a lap with Jules Daniel now. Going to go on board for a lap. They go through turn 1 and 2 now. Going to the heavy braking zone of turn 3. Going to get on the exit pretty fast. It actually does a bit of engine braking for turn 4. Nice work there. Very smooth through 4 and 5. Getting foot to the floor, turns 6 and 7. And now coming around turn 15, already profiled high speed corners. Chicane of turns 10 and 11 into turn 12. It's also another reprofile corner. Change the angle of it. Round turn 14. Just 15 and 16 to go. It's a nice lap for Jules Daniel. And in that lap, he's opened about 2 seconds to Williams behind. In doing so, sets a purple sector 3. So it's really finding pace on these 16 lap old hard tyres. And I wonder how worn Nuvatron tyres are. They're 21 lap old hard tyres. Can they go the distance? They must be at 70 or 80% more wear right now. So we'll see how long they can make those tyres last. Because there's still 6 laps to go of the race. Jules Daniel comes across the line to start the 24th lap of this Grand Prix. So just 6 more laps to go. There's not too much happening at the moment. I think we'll probably look over the sprint race orders and look at what's happened to them for the race. So what's happened is P1 in the sprint race was Gordo, so P1 of Gordo has actually gone last, so they've gone first to last. And on the flip side, Jules Daniel started last for the race, and he's gone to first. So last and first have swapped. ISO Skits, who started second in the sprint race, is DNF'd. It's going to finish 9th. Boy Luke in the McLaren, DNF'd. Same thing for their teammate who started this race in P4. DRA Geordie, another one to DNF. started this race in P5, and the man who started this race in P6, Haroldinho, is the only remaining Alfa Romeo, or Alpha, for that matter, any car that starts with an Alpha. All the others have DNF. P7 for this race was Oceania, who was looking very strong until they had a collision and they were out of the race. Stulz Daniels now catching up to I think that's Chicken Ghost. Lindsay Games started this race in P8, and the Ghost is currently in P6, so they probably finish in P6 because behind them is the Ghost, the Chicken. And starting in P8 for this race was Nuke OCE, who was looking very strong at the start until they got a drive-through and then retired later in the race in collision. And starting P10 in this race was Chicken Joe, who's now P7. And the Ghost is driving them. P11 starting the race was Dr. X Amy died in the Alpine. And I'm a Noobtron, who's now in P2, started the race from third from the back of the grid from P12, and starting from P13 is Stulz Daniel, who's gained 12 places in this race so far. And they've, over the past couple of weekends, they've looked like they have been phenomenal. I believe there's a spare seat in Div 1, so I think that would probably go to Stulz Daniel for a couple of strong performances. And there's just 3 more laps to go now around Albert Park. I'm going to look to see the penalties, see if that's going to affect anything. So Stulz Daniel, free of penalties. Only driver that's still running to do so. I'm an Ubertron behind. He's got 6 seconds of penalties, which is the same for the Alfa Romeo behind Haroldinho. Behind them, 14 seconds of penalties for Dr. X Amy in the Alpine. Just had a pretty good performance here. And behind them is Boney Lingard with 21 seconds of penalties, which is the most for anyone that's here. Dr. X Amy has the fastest lap of the race. 1 minute 20 seconds .846. I wonder, I'm gonna look at the fastest lap. Yeah, so I think they've gone fastest by quite some way, just over a second. They could be finding some real pace. I'm gonna look to the gap for the leader. It looks like Stulz Daniel all the way for pretty much everyone. And he's just got 2 more laps to navigate. 18 corners to go. And he will be the first winner of the ORL race. Around the high-speed chicane now. Turn 10 and 11, I believe that is. Just rides the curb a bit over. Might have gotten a warning for that. Coming Now on the edge, turn 13, around turn 14. 2 more corners to go until he's going to start the final lap of this race. Here we go. There's just 1 lap remaining in this Australian Grand Prix. What a race it's been so far. There's been controversy and drama for the weekend, and probably there'll be quite a few disputes that will be opened up. But Jules Daniel's been one that's stayed relatively out of trouble. And definitely out of the penalties. One of the few drivers to do so this weekend. It's been a very impressive performance. Similar to actually even better than his Austrian performance last time out. He looks to be one of the fastest drivers into Div 2. And I think he'll probably get the move up to Div 1 if he wants it. Because there's a spare seat. Nevertheless, he's been impressive all weekend. He's just got 1 more corner to go until he can see the finish line and see P1 for the Australian Grand Prix. He started this race in P13 and he's going to end it in P1. Jules Daniel wins in Melbourne. That's a great win. It's been impressive all weekend. One of the best performances I think I've seen. I'm a Nubatron, comes home P2. Great points for the Williams team. They had quite a race here. Good battle with Bean Oceania until Bean was gone, and Haroldinho comes home to claim 3rd for Alfa Romeo. Really good points. Very well deserved. Behind them, Dr. X Amy. They're going to finish P4. So I think Bonnie got retired, oddly. And that is it. That is the end of the Australian Grand Prix. Round 1, Div 2 of the Oceania Racing League. And what a race it has been. So make sure if you want to join in on the racing, to join the Discord and get in. Here he comes onto the podium now. Jules Daniel is your race winner here in Australia. Gets well-deserved win. It's been dominant in the race. It was quite the qualifying session. So P1 and 2, actually I'm a Nubatron, moves down to P3 because of penalties, which means Haroldinho gets P2, and so the top 2 are both Australians. Really good work from them. But I think lots of collisions, there might be some disputes, and for that reason I'm going to go through the race director if it lets me, which I don't think it will. But if anyone has any disputes, make sure to open one in the channel and provide some footage. Well, that is it. That's been Australian Grand Prix. Make sure to join and catch up for the next race in 1 week's time, which is going to be in Belgium. But this has been one of the best races I've ever seen. And for the Oceania Racing League in 2, that's it. Thank you everyone for coming in, tuning in. And yeah, that's it.